Alright, so today we're going to be replacing this fan with this new one that we picked up from Lowe's. Originally we weren't going to be doing this project, but I don't know if y'all know where the new college football video game came out, and I might have scored a touchdown and gotten a little bit excited and snapped these off there. Anyways, really old fans, so probably need to be replaced eventually anyways. So the first thing we're going to do is go outside and cut off the power, and then I'll show you guys how I take this one down, and then hopefully do a quick video how to get the next one back up. Alright, now that the power's off, we can start pulling this fan down and out. We're going to have to take a look at how they had everything together. First thing, we can see that there is a pin here, so we'll try and pull. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see, I know it's a little dark, but basically we're going to pull this little pin cap out. This should push through. We're going to hope this thing isn't heavy as all get out. And once that comes, this should slide down nicely. Okay. Ideally you'll have some, oh shit. Yeah, that's kind of what I was worried about. Ideally you'll have something that you can just kind of hang this on. You don't really want those wires to be just dangling. I'm trying to use this ladder here, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get it. So you have to just use one hand to support it while you get these other screws out. Alright. And then our goal is going to be to get into, we can go ahead and drop this box here. Screw. Alright. And we are free there. So now we're going to want to disconnect our old power. Just going to unwrap these guys here. I'm going to try my best not to damage any of these wires while I'm doing it. Almost long enough to hold this thing on its own. Just not quite. There's the go. Again, I apologize, I don't know how well you can see. But take that off there. And then we'll just unscrew our last wire nut, blue, blue, and black. And then your old fan is free and out. And I'll show you how to wire up the new one. Alright, so now we're going to take our new bracket and put it exactly where that fan was before. I forgot these little screws that hold the bracket up there don't normally come with these brackets, so just don't do what I did and accidentally lose it. Luckily my wife's working on another project and has one that fits pretty well, so that kind of saves the day there. Biggest thing is make sure that your wires are going through this center hole here. Otherwise you're going to get it up there and be upset that you have to take it back down. And then just like how we took the other one off, we're going to line these with our two screws in the box and just ratchet this up, or not ratchet, you know what I mean, screw this up there, start lightly putting that one in, and then we'll come to this side here and we'll get that one in there. And then what you're going to want to do is don't screw these in all the way right now. That way you can kind of move your box to be centered where you want it. For me, it's going to be to make sure that the fan's covering up, you know, this part that hasn't been painted. Once it's centered where you want it, you can go ahead and cinch those down and go all the way tight to the box there. Obviously you want to get these tight enough they don't come loose if the fan ever shakes. If you have, like what they had before, they had some washers there to kind of tighten that up a little bit. I didn't have it for the other one, so we're just going to have to deal with it. We'll move this stuff down here real quick so it's out of the way. So now we're going to start running some of our wiring and putting some of our other components together. So the first component we have here is we're just going to take this top decorative metal piece. Make sure that you slip your rod through first. I left these screws already on there. If you can see where the part is that kind of slips in, all you're going to do is, and actually we are probably going to want to wire this first as I'm thinking through this. We're going to go ahead and wire everything up before we actually do this. So we're going to take we're going to want to take this piece and slip it through. Oops. We're going to slip it through this way so it's sitting down on the fan. We'll go ahead and pick our fan up here. Got a nice little spot for it right here on the top of the ladder. And then we're going to make sure we're going to need our pin. So what we're going to want to do now is run all of our wires up and through this assembly here. If you want to trim your wires, you can. I'm not going to, and I'm just going to stuff them up. It makes it a little bit more difficult in the end if you don't trim them, but just to make this a little easier to put together, I'm going to, actually I might take a little bit off there. Never mind. Let me grab a pair of wire trimmers and I'll be right back. Alright, so after thinking through it, we actually are going to trim these guys up a little bit. First thing we're going to do though is, I don't know how well you can see, but we're going to run them through our assembly here. Make sure it's right side up. So this will end up going there. This will sit down once it's all said and done. But what we're going to do first is run these guys. All three wires are going to go straight up through here. And then we'll actually put this whole thing together before we start wiring up. So we'll pull these through, and then what you're going to want to do is align this to the top of your fan, and you'll see you're actually going to have to push this out of the way of that hole. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's a little wire there. You're going to take this pin and push it through all four holes to come out, and then we will go ahead and put our retaining pin in to hold that. The next thing we're going to do is there's a couple little safety screws, and again I apologize, I'm using both hands so the GoPro's on my head. I can't see what you're seeing, but I assume you can see. We're just going to take these two safety screws in on each side. Alright. So now our main fan assembly is good. We'll let our little tin thing, whatever you want to call that, come down. Alright. Now we can go ahead and figure out how long we want to make these. We'll go ahead and cut them off. Probably about right there. You can have extra length, no big deal. I always say with electrical it's better to be longer than shorter. Just know that it's going to be a bigger pain in the butt when you're trying to put everything back up in there if they're too long. So we'll go ahead and strip these guys open. Again, I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing or not, but I'm just stripping these wires open here. We're just going to wire it up the exact same. I dropped one in there. We're going to wire it up the exact same they had it before. So we're going to put the two blues to the, or the blue and the black to the black. We're going to put the white to the white, and then we'll put the green ground wire to our green ground wire up there. Because this is ground in, we can still ground there. We don't have to do a separate ground. The ground's going to be the most annoying, so we're going to have to hold it up while we're doing it. Well, these should be fairly easy. So we'll take our black and our blue, and
go ahead and twist these guys. around here. Oh, and that's all up there. Might not strip these down quite as far as I should have, but yeah, whatever. There you go, a little tub in there securely. Most people tell you you don't need electrical tape. I just follow what my dad always told me, which was always be safe rather than sorry, and you go ahead and tape that connection up there.
If I decide to edit this video, hopefully I fast forward through all of this, because you kind of get the picture here. You don't need to see my really, really poor, you know, taping skills, but anyways. Alright, so we'll see if I edit that out or not, or if I just leave it in there so you guys can get some comedic relief. But basically I made this a lot harder than it needs to be. This little, I don't know if you can see that little stick there, all it's going to do is just go up and in on top, which is going to give you a lot more space to be able to manage your wires, and it holds everything there. I actually probably could have done all the wiring while it was there, cut those a little bit shorter, but you know, is what it is at this point. But that is the correct way to get that on. And then it looks like I left the wrong screw in on that side. So that's interesting. But anyways, we'll just take him out real quick. Oh no. And that's inside the fan. Alright, some more comedic relief for you. I'm going to get that screw out and then I'll show you how I get all this back together. Alright, so depending on how much I choose to edit this video or not, you might have gotten a nice little comedy of errors. But basically what I did is I had this screw that this is going to kind of sit into, positioned in the wrong spot. And then I dropped it inside the fan. So that was some great fun to get out. But it is out. So we will go back to stuffing our wires in here, and I'm sure an electrician will tell me to make that a little bit more clean, but you know, whatever. So we'll go ahead and put that there. We'll do a quick little twist, and then we'll grab our two other screws, and then we'll crank all four of those down, and the hardest parts are done, assuming it works.
That will be a
project for another day. Make sure everything's good and tight there. Okay. Now, before we completely hook everything else back up, we'll give the motor just a quick, no, we're not going to, because we'll have to hook power up. So you could test everything here. I guess we're just going to put it all together and hope for the best. We're just going to assume it works. Not the way I normally do it, but today's a different day. So the next thing we're going to do is start taking all of these guys out to be able to put our actual fan blades in. I'll probably fast forward through a lot of that. I'll go slow for the first one and then fast forward through the rest. Alright, so I'm just going to show one of each of these, that way you're not just watching me screw in a bunch of screws, but basically you're going to have one of these guys, as well as one of your blades. If you can see, this blade is two-sided. You're going to want to make sure the side that you want facing down is the side that this hardware is going on top of. Oops. I'm sorry, the side that you want facing down, yeah, is the side that your hardware is on top of. This is the part that you're going to see when it's actually mounted in there like that, which I'll also show you. But then you've got two sets of hardware here. The first set is going to be your, they're like little washers. You're just going to stick one of those in each of these holes. And then you'll go ahead and take your second set. Not really sure what those do, to be totally honest with you. If I had to guess, they help this not come loose over time. Let's see if we set those somewhere we don't lose them. And you'll take your 3 bolts here. And really easy, just screw these in. Looking up at this now, it is going to sit a little bit lower than the other one, so I better not get too excited, or else we're going to have another situation on our hands. And that's 100% what these red things do. They're just making it so that these don't come out as easily, which is smart to me, as these things can become kind of a projectile. But that's all you're going to do here, and then I'll show you what you do when you're putting them all up. Alright, so once you get these guys together, I should have done this at the beginning, but you're going to want to make sure that you remove all of these motor blocks, which are these little red brackets. So you're just going to unscrew your motor screws here. Much easier if I'd done this before I actually put it up and the motor was kind of freely spinning, but this is what happens when you try to make a video and you don't read the instruction manual during the video, or at all at the video. But anyways, so basically you're just going to remove all of these. I won't show me removing all of them, but you're going to then pop these little red brackets out, throw those to the side, and then what you'll end up doing is taking your blades, you're going to line them up. There's actually, it's pretty easy. There's a little divot, I don't know if you can see it, but it's going to make sure that they're lined up, and then you'll just put those screws back in there. It's tough for me to do this and hold the GoPro, so I'm just going to kind of skip through the end there, but basically take these out, screw this back in where you take those out. Alright, so we're wrapping up to go ahead and get to our final part, which is installing the light portion. First thing we're going to do is on this assembly here, there's 3 screws. They're going to align with 3 holes up around the fan. So we're going to want to take these 3 screws out of our assembly. Got those in. I can't tell you how much I hate actually installing fans. Just those blades are just a pain in the butt, especially alone. I think that if this is the first one you've ever done, you're definitely going to want at least 2 people helping you. Again, you can do it on your own. I've done several on my own and I haven't enjoyed a single one of them. Alright, so once we get those 3 screws out, the next thing we're going to want to do is find our connections. You've got a white and a blue. Blue is going to go to black, and maybe, oh, there we go. If you line them up right, blue is going to go to black, white is going to go to white. I don't know how well you can see because it's dark, but those little ridges, they just stick in there, and then we're going to try and get this in as flush as possible and align those holes. You're going to basically stuff all of those wires up and in to the best of your ability. Don't force it. If you can't get them in, it means you're just going to have to kind of rearrange where your wires are going, and then everything should push straight up and in. Not sure what issue we're having here. Got that remote box. These guys are not getting up there as high as they need to. And then we'll get that there. Alright, so let's give that a try. Once you verify that you can get it flush, all you're going to do is put these 3 screws in. Again, I need both my hands, so I'm going to cut the GoPro off here. but you're just gonna put those screws you took out into these 3 holes here. I'm getting ready to put my last screw in here. I do want to point out, try not to over tighten these. They're not quite as critical as far as coming loose. I did notice as I was kind of tightening them, this cheap metal was starting to bend, which obviously you don't want to do. So I don't know, give them a nice little, just going to do this last one, give them a nice little twist in, and then once it feels like it's not going to rattle or anything like that, maybe a quarter turn, but I wouldn't go much more than that. Last part is going to be just screw in your light bulb, which I don't know how much light's going to come from this tiny thing that came with it. We'll probably end up replacing that with something a little bit brighter. Definitely going to end up replacing that with something bigger and brighter, but then you'll just take your glass disc, put it up there. There's going to be 3 knobs here. You just want to tighten those. You're going to go all the way around. Obviously don't over tighten these because you're going into glass, but just tighten them until it's holding your bowl nice and securely, like so. Perfect. We'll go ahead and cut the power back on and see if this thing works. Moment of truth. And fan works. And our light works. And that's how, if you ever rage a video game, you install the ceiling fan you broke.